Yo, what is up, guys? Joker bringing you another video for Path of Exile and Path of Exile 2. This time it's going to be a video going over the biggest problem that both games do face. And that's going to be the archaic trade system, right? At this point, even new players have experienced it and how bad it is. The veteran players that have played for thousands of hours know how bad the trade is, right? You usually have to go ahead and either use a third party tool in the form of TFT. Oh, hang on, I'm mocking my friend real quick. Um, you have to either use TFT to go ahead and sell items, or you have to use the trade site. And while the trade site is strong, you still have to do it very actively. One of the main complaints about Path of Exile 2's trading is it's too active, and we need a more passive way of doing this. In PoE 1, they flat out said no to the auction house, right? In PoE 2, Jonathan said maybe. So I wanted to go ahead and discuss probably the only way that I could see it working. And I have a couple of examples from other games that I play. So essentially, what they could do is they could take the trade house from Torchlight Infinite almost 1 to 1, right? Because it is another ARPG, it already has a list of all the modifiers and all of the items. It allows you to go ahead and set the roles of the items because, as you may or may not know, on unique items, the roles are relatively important, right? So it allows you to go ahead and set the minimum maximum. It allows you to look at prices and stuff like that. I wish the Trade House and Torchlight Infinite was honestly a little better, but since it is cross-platform as well as it kind of works well for TLI. I don't see them actually updating it. But the most important thing that I want to stress is going to be tax, right? Every functioning economy, uh, well, yeah, every functioning economy. I was going to say in a game, but no, every functioning economy needs a sink for currencies, right? And every auction house that I'm aware of in a video game does the same thing. They all have a way of sinking currency out of the economy. They all do it differently, but they all still do take currency out of the economy. Let's take TLI, for example, right? For every 8 currency items of any type gained through sales, 1 currency item will be deducted by the system as tax. Now, that could be the end of it. In TLI, you can get a scroll where you can get the Flame Elementium back, but that wouldn't be a PoE 2 thing, right? That would be it for PoE 2. Every out of yeah, for every 8 currency items, one of them is going to be removed. Would this impact people doing small trades? No. Would this impact people doing large trades? Yes. And so significantly. I don't know what word I was trying to say there besides significantly. But yeah. But then there's no charge before 200, right? That could also be something that helps out newer players because let's say your first 200 exalts get eaten up by a trade tax because you're trying to buy and sell items, try to use this new feature. If they go ahead and implement something like the 200 currency threshold, making it so you don't lose the currency and until after you have a rough understanding of how everything works. I would I would really like that. I think that would work really well. Moving on to our next example is another game that I played quite a lot of, and that's going to be old school RuneScape and their Grand Exchange. Now, this game is an MMO. It is not an ARPG. So it a lot of the item searches that we would have to do based on roles and stuff aren't integrated into this, but it is extremely well made and extremely streamlined. So when you go to buy something at the Grand Exchange in old school RuneScape, it's as simple as having the item in your inventory or manually searching for it, right? And how the exchange works in old school RuneScape is very similar to how it works in TLI. Essentially, what it does is you don't lose any money if you're buying items. Tax is paid exclusively by selling items. So, as you can see here, when I bought these big bones, I bought these big bones. I did not pay any tax, but when I sold this elemental fire element staff crown, holy shit, I can't read. I paid 53,000 gold, right? There was a 1% tax on the item. And how this tax works is not only does it remove this much gold from the economy, it sets it aside in a little stockpile. And once it meets the purchase threshold of the item, it deletes one of the traded items from the game. Now, obviously, it's not going to be one of the ones that people are actively trading, right? But it essentially goes ahead and it buys out one of those, it puts it aside, and then it deletes it. That way, it doesn't directly mess with the players on either side. It pretty much just takes it out of the economy and puts it aside and deletes it. And that's a double sync because it deletes the item and it deletes the gold from the seller, right? So it helps make the economy be significantly stronger. Now, one of these two ways are the only viable option I see for an auction house in PoE. The currency exchange right now in PoE 2 is not the greatest, right? It's okay, but you can obviously tell it's something that they threw together last minute. I'm going to go ahead and pull up PoE 2 here real quick to kind of show you what I mean. But one more thing while it's loading that I would like to mention is a trade history. This is also something that I would like integrated just into our current currency exchange. That way I'd be able to tell what I most recently bought and sold stuff for, right? It would help. Right now I have to literally put it down on a fucking notepad, and that's just a pain in the ass. So, regardless of if we get any kind of other auction house, I would really enjoy if they added a trade history to our current currency exchange, because Torchlight Infinite and Old School RuneScape both do have a trade history, and I want to say PoE is actually the only thing that does not have a trade history correlated with its auction house, right? I'm pretty sure that it is the only game I can think of where there is no way to look through previous trades. I'm actually almost positive about that because even other games I've played, like World of Warcraft and Albion Online, that had auction houses, they had ways for me to see previous traded items, I believe. Yeah. So, what's up with that, GGG? How come we're literally the only ones who can't see past trade history? It's not like you don't have the log, it would be directly tied to the auction house. But yeah, let's go ahead and walk over to Alva here real quick. And it'd also be great if, it was its own NPC and they stopped just reusing stuff. Like in PoE 1, how it's that the guy from the shipping now. And then here it's Alva. If we could get like a dude with a pedestal, like over here, uh, well, that's where I'd put him. But if we could get like a dude with a pedestal that we could put somewhere, that would be super, super helpful. So we go to the currency exchange, right? And right now we click I want for I have. Oh, great. Divines are continuing to go up. Um, but yeah, I want exalted orbs. I have divine orbs. And this is pretty much the extent of the auction house. That's why it could not be used for other items, because rolls are extremely important in Path of Exile and Path of Exile 2. So you would not be able to set up blanket searches like this. Otherwise, you could have people paying the same price for significantly worse items, right? Imagine you go to buy an Ingenuity and you just set it up as like Ingenuity for 23 div. Someone just throws in a Ingenuity. It's a I don't know how low it can roll. It's like a 40% ingenuity, right? Where you can buy a 70+% ingenuity for the same 40, for the same 24 div, right? If prices haven't changed, I haven't played in a little bit, so prices may have changed somewhat. But apart from that, all you can really do is control click to swap them around, and then you can press all over the market ratio to see the available trades and the competing trades. This is a good first step. Credit where credit's due. This is something that has been needed for a very long time in both games. So I was extremely happy when this came to the game. A lot of people even stated that they would quit if GGG tried removing it. It's that big of a deal. Um, but this cannot be the final form. I'm sorry. I know it's the first iteration, but I refuse for them to try to make this the final form. It would be so easy for them to go ahead and just add an auctioneer and have it work like the Grand Exchange, or have it worked like Torchlight Infinite. Now, so easy is obviously in air quotes, but it would take a handful of devs, probably a couple months, to get that up and running, right? And since PoE and PoE2 are already kind of on fire, right, with the amount of changes that people want to see and the amount of content that people want, if they pulled a handful of devs away for a couple of months and had them work on an auction house that was cross-platform, essentially, I don't know what it would be called, cross-program, it would be usable in both games, right? Then I think the amount of positive reinforcement GGG would get would far outweigh the amount of criticism they have been getting recently. But that is only if they do it correctly, because on top of that, they would have to go ahead and find a way of integrating everything that's in TFT into this auction house, which, since some of the things in TFT are more obscure, it would be harder. But I do have faith it could be easily done. I can think of a few ways where you go ahead and you have specifically like a bulk trading merchant, right? So you go and they only deal in like bases. That way you don't have to worry about it conflicting with any of the code or any of the information about the currency exchange, and you don't have to worry about the auction house, right? Something like that. That's just the first thing that I can think of. He would just deposit a bunch of white bases and he would sell them for X amount, and he would take a cut for his services, right? I feel like NPCs like that aren't the hardest to actually make. So it's kind of curious that we've never seen one. But that's pretty much my hopes and my ideas for what can fix PoE and PoE2's biggest problem, the lack of an auction house. Because players kind of want an auction house. They've been very vocal, especially more of the newer players that have joined since PoE2. They have been really vocal about needing some kind of trade option. And I don't want them to put in some half-assed auction house where essentially I don't want them to put in some half-assed auction house. Why did he give me a map? Um, I don't want them to put in some half-assed auction house that just causes more inflation, right? There needs to be some kind of sync that comes with the auction house. But yeah, that's pretty much just my opinion. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with this and future content. And until next time, take care.